Bizarre Reality Media. The reality we live in can be a very strange place. Most of the time, fact being stranger than fiction. How will we ever start to understand this reality we live in unless we question everything? Join me and a guest as we unravel the mysteries of this reality, one topic at a time. This is Inquiries of Our Reality with Shayn Jones. What is up, Inquirers, and welcome to the expanse of conversational exploration into the fringes of social norms. I'm the one they call Shane, and today for you guys, I have the real-life monster hunter himself, Jason Kenzie, here to discuss his research and investigations into the elusive beast we all refer to as Sasquatch. From encounters to theories, this one has a little bit of everything for everyone. But before we get into this fascinating conversation, we of course have the usual quick news and updates. First and foremost, if you might be interested in being a part of the Bizarre Reality Halloween special, we are trying to take some call-ins, some voicemails that we might be able to play on the show. Some of you guys talking about your bizarre experiences, from cryptids to paranormal to extraterrestrial to anything that you might want to offer for the show for Halloween. And of course, I will touch base with you, make sure it's okay that we use it on the show. And also, as an addition to that, if anybody wants to remain anonymous or possibly wants their voice changed, I can definitely do that too. But again, I will contact you after you guys call in and leave that voicemail and figure out exactly what you guys want to do with it. But make sure you guys get it to us before the end of October, because we will be recording the day before Halloween. And if you guys are interested in doing that, you guys can call into the hotline, which is 313-364-1551. And if you happen to miss that, it is available down in the show description. And that leads to the next point. We are going to be putting together the Halloween special for Bizarre Inquiries also, and that'll be happening on October 2nd at about 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over there on the Bizarre Reality Media YouTube and Twitch channels. And if anybody is interested in submitting any questions, clips, articles, or anything for that, make sure you guys get it to us before then. And of course, like I mentioned, it is a Halloween special, so if you guys send anything in, just make sure it's somewhat Halloween related. And continuing on, if anybody is still interested in possibly winning a free t-shirt of their choice off of the Bizarre Reality merch store, all you guys have to do is fill out a quick 8-question survey, all your guys' thoughts and opinions on the show, all things that would help me grow and improve. So if you guys don't mind taking a couple minutes to fill it out to the best of your abilities, I would definitely appreciate it. And all else fails, you guys might end up winning a free t-shirt out of it. I'm going to be running that until it reaches 50. Currently it's at about 20, so you guys definitely have some time to do it. And if you guys are interested, the link to that is available down in the show description. And if anybody is interested in being a guest on the show, sharing their experiences or encounters, or contacting me for any reason whatsoever, you guys can do so through email, which is inquiriesofourrealitypodcast@outlook.com, or you guys could always call or text the Bizarre Reality Media hotline. And again, if you missed it previously, that number is 313-364-1551. And again, you guys can call or text that 24/7. And if you might be interested in supporting the show, there are a couple of different ways you can do so. First and foremost, you guys can go and check out the Bizarre Reality Media Patreon with 2 tiers available: ad-free / early access and full access. And over there, it's a little bit more bang for your buck, because not only do you get this show, you get the 0.5 episodes, which are full episodes, by the way. They are not short episodes. And of course, you guys get everything involved with Bizarre Encounters also. So definitely worth going and checking out. And if you guys might be interested in seeing what it's all about, you guys can always utilize that 7-day free trial that I have available for both tiers. And if you guys might be interested in checking out some awesome merchandise and some t-shirts starting at just $15.68 plus shipping, you guys can also go and check out the Bizarre Reality merch store. And you guys can also donate to the show directly if you might want to get me an energy drink or a coffee to keep me up through the night to edit these awesome episodes for you guys. And last, you guys can always go and check out the affiliate links with some additional discounts and credits available for you guys. And I know times can be tough out there, but if you're interested in supporting the show in some other awesome ways, you guys could always leave a review for the show on any podcatcher you happen to use. And of course, I will read it on the show and give you guys a big shout out. You guys can also go and follow the show on Instagram and Facebook. You guys could share the show with a friend through word of mouth, or maybe even with an enemy, depending on what you think that person might be into. You guys can also go and catch the show live on the Bizarre Reality Media YouTube and Twitch channels. And last but not least, you guys can also go and check out my other show, Bizarre Encounters with Shayn Orin, diving into a lot of the same stuff as this show, but in a bit of a different format because we do deep dives over there. And every single thing that I mentioned is all available in the link tree, which is available, again, down in that show description. And with that, let's get into the show. Please welcome to the show, real-life monster hunter, Jason Kenzie. How's it going today?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure to finally get you on the show. I tried contacting you a little bit ago, and I know how things tend to be with Facebook. You know, people get lost in messages and everything, but luckily I had a good friend, John Reiners. He mentioned that I should try to hit you up again, and luckily I did, and now we're having this conversation. So
That's good.
So I guess a good spot to start for anybody that may not be familiar with who you are and what you do exactly. Why don't you let them know a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you do?
Well, my name is Jason Kenzie. I basically travel the world in North America searching for Sasquatch and other cryptids like Dogman. I just finished doing a documentary on Mothman. I usually go and I put them into documentary style movies that I post. It goes all over the world, many streaming platforms. But I basically research, monsters and non-monsters. And I started as an animal photojournalist. So I did basically the same thing. I traveled the world, meeting people that live with the most amazing animals, from tigers and bears, kangaroos, alligators, giant snakes, spiders, monkeys, and all kinds of different animals that people live with as their pets. And then I jumped into Bigfoot.
What exactly got you to start switching over to checking out Bigfoot and everything? Because, I mean, of course, all that stuff's fascinating, but just take that next step into Bigfoot. I mean, are you looking for a new sense of adventure? Or?
Well, the thing is, when COVID hit and the whole world shut down, I wasn't able to do my animal adventures because I made a web series called Jason Kenzie's Amazing Animal Adventures. And when the world shut down, I wasn't able to do my videos. Basically, they were behind the scenes of my animal adventures. So I was driving myself nuts. So I went over to my buddy Paul's place, and we're outside, and I'm pacing, and I'm basically venting to him. I'm like, what am I going to do? I mean, I can't do my animal adventures. I need something to focus on. And my buddy Paul said, kind of as a joke, hey, what about Sasquatch? You should look into him. He might be an animal of some kind. And then we laughed at it. And then I took a step back and thought, actually, that's a good idea. I live in Vancouver, so I'm very close to Harrison Hot Springs, which that Harrison is the epicenter of Sasquatch sightings anywhere in the world.
Oh, yeah, British Columbia in general, there's a lot of sightings.
Yeah, and Harrison Hot Springs. So I knew a few people who had sightings of these Bigfoot creatures, so I went and interviewed them, and in turn, they introduced me to the First Nations people, which they pointed me into an area up in eastern British Columbia, where they believe that these Bigfoot creatures live. So I ventured up there, and wow, I went in as a skeptic. So I was a 20% believer when I first started, and I went deep into the wilderness, and I found trees that were upside down. They were ripped out of the ground, moved, and pushed into the ground. I found a lake in the middle of the wilderness that had like hundreds of these giant footprints that went right through the lake, right through the water. And I had a drone. So I droned the lake and you could clearly see all the footprints. And then on land, I could see the toes, and it was incredible. On land, I found some footprints, and yeah, just some crazy stuff. Took a helicopter into the wilderness, got dropped in, looked around for a few days, and yeah, it was just crazy. It was a lot. I loved the adventure and the mystery, and I never got scared once. Okay, I did. I got scared all the
time. Anybody that doesn't believe in Sasquatch clearly hasn't seen how vast the wilderness truly is, because a lot of the people don't want to believe it's, they've lived in cities their entire life. They've never realized how vast some of this area is. And especially when you start getting farther north, I mean, just like the animals, everything starts to get a little bit bigger, and you start getting up near Alaska, near British Columbia, like all those areas over there. And it's like, I feel like the possibilities are endless on what could exist out in those woods.
Yeah, and interesting, only 0.1% of the population go into the forest at night. So like 1 out of, 4,000 or 5,000 people go into the forest at night. And I'm not talking about hunters, because hunters usually go in when it's dark, only like an hour or so before dark, and then they leave before dark. I'm not talking about campers, because campers usually drive to the area while it's daytime, set up the camp, and then they don't go anywhere else. They don't leave the camp. I'm talking about people that actually wander in the forest. It's very few. So, there's things out there that I've seen that would just blow your mind. Things that followed me in the forest. I could see the eye shine of creatures that would follow me. And me knowing animals, deer don't usually follow you. Neither do bear or cougar. The human voice to a wild animal means danger. That's why they tell you to sing or to make lots of noise when you're walking in bear country, because they'll run away. So, of course, I'm such a bad singer. I just have to sing, and all the animals run away. And humans.
Might end up drawn in Sasquatch. They're curious what might be happening over around the corner. If something animals getting smashed or something.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, what is that? God, let's just kill it. Okay, let's just kill the damn thing. I can't stand that."
So I guess I'm going to have to ask right off the bat, of course, since you kind of started diving into Sasquatch from the animal perspective, what's kind of like your idea on Sasquatch? Are you more of like flesh and blood, or do you kind of get into some of these like weirder aspects of Sasquatch?
So when I first started, I was strictly going in, thinking that they're some kind of an animal. And I do believe that they're flesh and blood. But I have had weird experiences where these creatures have come out from nowhere and then gone like that. I've seen the lights or the orbs. Usually these creatures would come out after I would see a light. I can't say they go through portals, because I can't say they go through portals because I haven't seen a portal yet. But I do think they have extreme camouflage. When I look into Sasquatch, I think about what animals out there in the wild have the same kind of abilities. So a good example. So some people think that Sasquatch could be invisible, or they have an extreme cloaking. They can cloak, or they have extreme camouflage. So I think, what real animals are out in the wild that can cloak or do have extreme camouflage? And we know that the cuttlefish and the octopus are incredible for camouflage. Like an octopus can actually morph into looking like coral. We know the chameleon, can blend in. The stick bug, right? So now that I know that there's animals out there that can camouflage, then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe Sasquatch has that ability. So another one is infrasound. I have been roared at and not just heard it, but felt it. where it kind of shook my eyes, where everything was blurry for half a second. And it just screamed at me from probably about 100 feet away. And I do know that there are animals out there in the wild that do have infrasound, like the tiger, the elephant, the whale. I think some birds have infrasound, because you know as well as I do, infrasound is something you can't hear, but you can feel.
See, I'm kind of in the same camp with a lot of this stuff that, I definitely get into the idea about Sasquatch being more, but I'm always one of those people that tries to connect stuff in with as much real world facts as I possibly can. And I definitely think that there are a lot of aspects of Sasquatch that might be one of those things that you only see in one specific spot in nature. But a lot of this stuff with Sasquatch, I feel like it can be related to other things. Like you were kind of mentioning with the camouflage, I'm always pointing out that, a jaguar or any of these brightly colored animals, when you see them just standing stationary in the woods, you can walk right past them and not even see them. So even with Sasquatch cloaking, I mean, of course, I'm sure that they might have an ability to somewhat kind of match around these colors of the different trees and everything around them, but the human eye mainly only catches things when it moves. So if these things are a brownish color standing near a tree and they stay completely still, the human eye isn't going to catch them. I mean, I often wonder how often people might walk right past these things and not even realize it. I mean, how many people can walk past a jaguar and not realize it if they're sitting in the right spot?
Yeah, exactly. Right. The interesting thing about the zebra, the stripes, they trick the predator. They don't know which end is the head, because the stripes go in a pattern, in a sense, where they don't know which way is the head, and the zebra will run around in circles.
Don't they do a thing too where when they're all together, they also just like can't tell exactly where the group is? So it's kind of almost like how fish school, or when they all kind of group together, the predator just sees it as a bigger mass, and a lot of the time they'll kind of avoid it, thinking that it's something bigger.
Yeah, and they also get overwhelmed because they don't know which one to attack, because there's so much of it. So it just overwhelms them, right? Because no animal wants to be injured in the forest, right? A lot of times predators will come at you from behind and get the neck. Very seldom will animal attack, like a predator will attack something dead on, right? Because just a little cut in the wild can be death to an animal. So they don't want to get injured either.
Hold on tight, guys. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break. And now back to the show. Kind of makes you wonder if when people have these experiences with Sasquatch where you can tell there's clearly a bunch of them in front of you, it makes you wonder if it's not so much that they're, again, trying to like attack you or anything like that, but they're also just trying to make it so that they're scaring you away. They're trying to pretend like they're bigger, there's more of them, and they just want to get you away. So again, trying to look at some other things with other predators. I mean, you don't too often really hear about Sasquatch attacks. I mean, if you do, it's very far in between, and a lot of people chalk it up to this like rogue Sasquatch idea. But a lot of the time it's a matter of they're not trying to attack dead on. They kind of stay off in the distance, or they do that thing where they kind of sidestep you. And I think that half the intention is to try to just scare you out of the woods, but they're not really planning on ever having like a real face-to-face, but doing that strategic tactic where you kind of know something's there enough that it trips you up and makes you want to leave.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I've been surrounded a few times. I was in Texas filming a Sasquatch documentary, and actually it's searching for Sasquatch 5, the Texas Screams. And we were like completely surrounded by these creatures howling and screaming and roaring at you. And I'm like filming the whole thing going, oh my God. Like it went on for like an hour, just the howling and the screaming all around us. It literally got to the point where there was so much howling and screaming that this is exactly what happened. We're sitting around the fire and I'm like, yeah, so Frank, get me a hot dog, and do you want oh, look, another howl. So anyway, I want ketchup and I want mustard, and it went on for so long, and there was so many howls and screams that we got kind of numb to it.
That's a scary feeling, though, because I mean, if you can get numb to that, I feel like one of the scariest moments with Sasquatch is being in the middle of the woods and hearing these things all around you, and knowing that realistically you can't go anywhere. You're stuck
No,
where you are. But
exactly.
getting to the point where you get so normalized to it, you're just sitting there like, all right, just pass me some more food. Like
that's exactly what was happening. It was like, oh, look, another howl. Oh, look, another roar. You know, it's just kind of. I mean, I imagine now that you just said it like that. I bet you these creatures were off to the side going, what the hell's wrong with these naked people? Like, what the heck? We're not scaring them. What the heck? Hey, Frank, you give it a try. Like, you know, like I wonder if they were like frustrated because, you know, but yeah, if anyone wants to see that, that adventure, you just find Searching for Sasquatch 5, the Texas Screams, and you'll see all the craziness. I mean, we had one stand up in front of us. Like, of course, it was they saw it in a flare, just as it stood up and walked off into the forest, and then we go running off into the I went running off into the forest to that area and found that there was all these tree structures, right where it was. We thought it was a bunny actually at first because it was on the ground. You just see the little hot white spot. And then all of a sudden it stood up. It was crazy. Yeah.
Was it doing that Sasquatch crawl by chance? I've had a few people that have kind of been diving into that. Of course, John Renner is our, mutual friend here. Was it doing that like spider crawl kind of thing like he was talking about?
What? I don't think it was. Well, I don't know if it was doing that. I do know that one of my first experiences with a Bigfoot was seeing a spider crawl, like right in front of me, like right across the right in front of the trail that I was on. It was terrifying, and I was filming, but I was filming myself talking on camera when it happened. Like when I turned around, I was talking on camera, and for like, I want to say for like 10 minutes, I was filming like two of them looking at us from probably 110 feet away, just looking at us. And then they kind of either turned their head or closed their eyes and walked off. And then I turned around and there was this thing that was standing and it just dropped to the ground and did this, looked like a giant spider across the ground. I almost fell backwards. I wish I was filming, towards it, but well, you get my reaction on camera though.
That's such like a weird thing to place too, because I mean, clearly it shows that there's somewhat of an intelligence level to these things if they're smart enough to do that, because I feel like that's one of those things that's intentionally meant to evade humans, because the humans, most of the time you hear a sound, you're looking straight out, you're looking above you. If they stay low, then nobody's really catching it. And most of the time people catch these spider crawls mainly because of using thermo. Like most of the spider crawls that I've seen are from people that are like hanging out around their campfire and they start using thermo around the outside, and they kind of use that as a means to kind of lank up and get a little bit closer and see what's going on.
Well, the only thing, I'm 5'6", and I'm pretty sure that when it's spider crawling, it's still 5 feet. The thing's so bloody big.
Just out of curiosity, since you've kind of traveled around checking out different animals and stuff, have you seen any other characteristics kind of like that in any other primates where I know that of course when they start to run, they'll kind of go to all fours, but have you seen anything else that'll kind of lay flat like that?
Just trying to think I'm trying to think what other animal, I mean,
like, I hate to always relate them to primates, but of course, it's just kind of using an assumption like, you had to kind of start somewhere, and I'm sure that they're not too closely related to primates, but...
If you look at dogs, when they want to play, the one thing they do is they go right down. They're like their chin hits the ground. They're so low. So they kind of do go down on all fours, right? But I have seen dogs actually crawl.
Yeah, I've seen a few dogs do that too. I've seen my pit do that a few times. So
yeah, like they go right down. I'm just trying to think of what other. I can't recall any other creatures. I know there is a couple. I just can't recall at the moment what what creatures would do that.
See, that might be one of those characteristics we were talking about a little bit earlier, that a lot of people look at it as maybe a little woo-woo or weird, but it might be one of those things that's specific to whatever that thing is. Because, I mean, of course, I entertain all different possibilities for Sasquatch, but again, I try to relate things to the animal kingdom first. So, again, maybe that's one of those characteristics that's specifically just theirs, because there's a lot of that through nature, that you only see that trait in one specific animal, and it seems like a ridiculous thing until you actually see it in that animal, and you go, okay, now that makes sense.
Yeah, I've interviewed a few people who have said they've seen the spider crawl, where it's literally on the ground and it's just moving, like the legs are just going back and forth. It looks like a giant spider.
I mean, maybe that's something that they've kind of learned over the years to avoid, like I said, humans in general, especially because they know that humans most of the time carry guns with them and they're going to be shooting direct range. So I wonder if they've kind of learned to do that mainly around humans, because they know that it's harder for a human to fire into a weird spot on the ground than it would be to just fire directly in front of them.
Yeah, I guess next time you're in the forest, make sure you really check out that if it's really a log that you're stepping over.
Hey, if it's sitting still enough, you never know.
Could be a leg. You step on it, you hear,
then you get thrown into a tree.
Then you get thrown into a real tree.
And also, too, because I know a lot of people like to talk about it with Sasquatch, and again, coming from somebody that's done a lot of research into animals in general, some of these areas that you're in, just to kind of bring some more validity to the listeners out there that may not be super into it, do you think that there's enough in the area to sustain these animals? Because this is always the biggest question with Sasquatch, and I usually kind of get into the idea that they're more omnivore, where they'll eat, of course, meat and whatever happens to be around, but are there a lot of like big game in the areas that you go in that it seems like there would be a sustainable means of food for these things?
Yeah. Well, British Columbia has unlimited food, really. It's like, like the other day, just saw an elk just on the side of the road. And, the elk is almost, hundreds of pounds of the meat. So, most of these places I go into have everything that is needed for, if a bear can survive, a Sasquatch can survive, for sure.
And also, too, you've kind of mentioned a few of your experiences, so I would love to hear a few of your experiences with these things. First, of course, I would love to hear your first experience, and then I'd love to hear some of your favorite experiences going on in these adventures.
Okay, so I went to northern Michigan, to the UP. Actually, it was the UP of Michigan.
I'm heading there next weekend, actually. That's where I'm from. I'm from Michigan. I'm heading to Gaylor area near Mackinac, so maybe close to the same area.
What are you going there for?
Going to see some family, but also the area that I'm going to see family in, there's been a few different Sasquatch reports, so it's kind of a two birds, one stone thing for me.
So, how close are going to be to the bridge?
About 45 minutes.
Really?
Yep.
Because I'm going to be there in 2 days.
Oh, I'm going to be there not this weekend, next weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to be. So, I'm speaking at a UFO conference in northern Michigan. So I'm going to be doing I'm going to be filming a documentary out there by the bridge. Not too close. I think I'm about 20 minutes from the bridge, but I'm on this side of the bridge. And it's supposed to be a huge wilderness area out there. I'm going with some other researchers. They're going to take me out there. But yeah, seriously, I'm going to be there in like just a handful of days.
Well, if you happen to be there still by next Friday, maybe we can meet up in that area, because I got some family that's got a bunch of state land that's all their property, so we might be able to get into some cool spots that nobody else is able to go into. And one of the spots that I've been trying to go and check out, I got a story from another family member. Basically, they got stuck on a fire trail one night. It was him and his brother, and it was during a snowstorm, so they got stuck, and they said they basically had to stay with the van for the night. So in the middle of the night, they said something huge rushed across the front, and it shook the van, and they said it was something taller than the van. I'm not saying it was a Sasquatch, but I don't know what else out here was that big, because they only have like smaller black bears and stuff. So yeah, there might be some good luck in that area up there.
Some of the most amazing experiences I've had. Like I've researched probably about 30 places throughout the United States, and I think the most active place that I've researched is Michigan. Some of the most amazing experiences have been in Michigan. But anyway, yeah, so I'm with a whole bunch of researchers. They took me out there to the UP, and we drove in pretty deep into the wilderness. And then as we're on ATVs looking, I saw this giant tree X. So these two trees, they were about 30 feet tall, and one of them looked like it was pushed over, or maybe it fell, and it was still standing up, but it was off to the side. And then another one was ripped out of the ground from somewhere else, moved over and rammed into the ground right there, and just kind of it would just make this giant X. And then there was another one on top of it. And I love finding the big tree X's, the ones that, not even 5 humans could pick it up. And I turned to everyone and I said, hey, because they believe that the X stands for danger, do not cross, this is our territory. So I turned to everyone and I said, okay, well, I'm going to string up a hammock tent and sleep under this tree X tonight.
That's awesome. I haven't heard of anybody trying that before.
Yeah, so everyone was like, you're crazy. And I'm like, well, yeah, I am. So basically I think I was about probably 100 feet, maybe 120 feet. Everyone moved over to the other side of the trail, on the other side, maybe 125 feet away. And that night I went and I, got up into my hammock tent and I fell asleep. And then in the middle of the night, I'm lying there and I hear crack. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like listening. And I could not just hear it walking. Every step, I could feel it. I could feel off the vibration of the string of the hammock, just as it was walking. And I'm like going, oh my God. I can hear crunch, crunch, crunch. I'm like, oh my God, what is that? I'm thinking, or is it a bear? No. They say there isn't a bear there. Wolf, maybe a cougar, maybe a wild boar. And then it stopped. And then it grunted in my ear. It was like, and I started shaking. I could feel it through me. And I started shaking uncontrollably. And have you ever tried stopping yourself from shaking?
It just makes it worse.
It hurts because I'm like in my stomach. I'm like I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm already done up as a burrito. So if it wanted me, just hit me and pull it up, put it, and just walk me off into the forest. So I really was terrified. And then it turned and it started walking away. And I was like, crunch, 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 and then nothing. And then, like I said, I could still hear it as it walks away. Then I yell out. I'm like, David, is that you? And then I hear from the darkness, I hear, Jason, well, what is it? And I unzip my hammock tent because I couldn't see anything because the hammock tent has a bug and mosquito netting over top of it. So I couldn't see.
That almost makes it scarier that you couldn't see this thing coming up. But gosh, I don't know if it would have been better if you would have saw it. That probably would have been just as horrifying.
Oh my gosh. I unzipped, jumped out, ran around, and there was my buddy sleeping. He was back. He was probably about maybe 20 feet away, and he's backed up to a tree. And I asked him if that was it you that was walking around, and he said, no, that wasn't me. I only woke up when you called my name. So for the next half hour, we looked for footprints. I didn't smell anything. So I still can't say it was a Bigfoot, but it was pretty crazy. And then the next morning, we went and talked to everyone and we told them what happened. And then that evening, one of the guys from the group went there by himself just to retrieve, I don't know what it was, like a recorder or something. And he got grunted back. He came running back, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I just got grunted at." So I was like glad that someone else experienced it, because I felt like everyone's like, "Oh, Jason's new. He's just saying this just to, get cred." And I was like, that's just how I felt. I'm not saying they were doing that, but when someone came and said, "Oh my gosh, I just got grunted at," I was like, wow, that was pretty crazy.
Inquiries of Our Reality will be right back after this brief commercial break, so stay tuned. And now back to the show. See, I feel like these things, they almost kind of have like a military tactic to the way they do things. Like, it doesn't seem like they're ever just going to attack dead on. They're never going to do things directly. They kind of do these things where it seems like they almost try to make it so that you're going to slip up, or they try to just make you uncomfortable so that you leave. Like, I ended up having this one experience with Sasquatch over near Benton Harbor, so other side of Michigan, but southern Michigan. And we ended up going and crossing past this creek at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was in the middle of just an area where there wasn't anybody. It wasn't a campground, nothing like that. So there wasn't anything there when we first checked through the creek. So we ended up going for a hike, came back, and when we ended up coming back, my footprint at the creek had another giant footprint that was barefoot across it. And it almost kind of seemed like it was intentional. Like, it's like, all right, we're around you, try to find us, or we're around you and you didn't see us, so maybe you should just go back to your campsite. Like, it almost kind of seems like there's like a military tactic sometimes the way these things work.
Well, I was out in Oregon not too long ago, and I was researching out in there, and some of the other researchers got roared at, bluff charged, and when we went into this area, we walked in from the vehicle, and when we came back, there was a little X right on the path, right next to the vehicle, which wasn't there when we left. It was just placed there.
Almost like they were telling you, like, we're here, but they didn't want to be direct with you.
Yeah, they were like basically saying, "Hey, we're here."
See, I don't know how to take that as like a, get out of the area, or maybe you're kind of looking in the right spot, because sometimes it seems like these things kind of gauge the person. And I know that you said it, you went and started talking to some First Nation people about it, and they kind of talk about them more as like a lost tribe. They don't talk about them as like creatures or anything like that. It almost seems like something you could make a connection with. And like, my grandma was 100% Cherokee, so I kind of heard some of these stories from like the Cherokee perspective. And she always kind of told me this story about, we used to trade back and forth and do everything back and forth. And then once the white settlers started coming, they basically said, you guys can either continue on with us, or you guys continue trading with them. And if you continue trading with them, then you're kind of done with us. And that's supposedly where like the Cherokee communication kind of stopped with these things, was they started, of course, trading with the settlers and everybody coming over. So I don't know if it's any different farther north. I'm assuming that it probably is a little bit different, but there's always this exchange of them being more of like a tribe than an animal, though.
Yeah. Well, like, do you live in Michigan?
Yeah, yourself? I'm near the Detroit area, unfortunately. I wish I was farther north.
Oh, yeah. Some of the really cool experiences I've had was Ann Arbor.
Where do you know where that's at in the state, roughly?
Ann Arbor.
Oh, Ann Arbor. Oh, that's like mid-state. Yeah, there's a handful of Sasquatch sightings around that area. I kind of keep somewhat of an eye on that area.
If you go a little bit further past Ann Arbor, there's farmland, but there's also that giant forest right there, that huge national forest.
Manistee?
Manistee, yeah.
Yep.
No, is it Manistee?
So I know Manistee is the one that takes up like the whole other side of the state for the most part, and that's where a lot of the Dogman stuff is. Yes,
no, not quite that far. So if you're driving past Ann Arbor, if you keep driving on that highway past it for maybe another hour, maybe half hour, there's a big forest right there, a big national forest. And that's where I've had some really cool experiences.
Is it Mulberry State Park by chance?
Might be in that area.
Because I see Mulberry or Seven Lakes.
I don't know if... I can't remember exactly the exact location, but I do know that it was farm land that backed into the forest. And we went back there, and there were things running off into the forest. And usually when we're running through the forest, we're usually trying to avoid the branches, not these things. They were going right through the branches, just breaking them as they were running. And they were like 7 feet, 6 feet tall, like meaning the branches that were snapped off. Like as it's running, it's just running straight through like a bulldozer. And I remember chasing one through the forest, and it outpaced me within seconds. Like whatever it was, I could see where the trees were still moving as it was running through, and I could hear the cracks as it was running. And all I'm thinking, man, if this is a guy in a suit, how the hell is he running through the forest without a flashlight?
Right.
I had a flashlight and I was having problems, and I'm pretty agile. But at one point, we turned off all our flashlights. And this is after half an hour of seeing eyes shine and things looking at us. And then I said, turn off all the lights. And then my ADHD got the better of me, and I had to, I said, okay, I'm just going to wander over here by myself, look around. And I came around some bushes, and there was something that was standing there in front of me about 15 feet, 20 feet away. And it was probably about 6-7 feet tall, and just dropped to the ground. And I was filming, and then it went behind the bushes, and it just looked, it was doing this behind the bushes. And I had my video camera going, and I filmed the whole thing. And you see the eyes shine, you see it behind the bushes looking at me. But man, it was terrifying, because all I was thinking is, if it's a young one, the adults are going to walk up behind me and just hit me on the top of the head. That's what I'm thinking in my head. So I'm like shaking as I'm trying to hold my camera.
See, I'm kind of curious if the older ones would tend to attack, because I almost kind of wonder if, they kind of have the idea that they know that if they do anything harsh like that, they're probably going to draw more people to the area. Like, I'm curious if, like, an adult's in that situation with a lot of other animals, bears, prime perfect example, if you're anywhere near their babies, like, they're going to come in and you're not going to end up making it out of that experience. But it seems like with a lot of the Sasquatch stuff, people get a lot of, it seems like juveniles, like messing with them, like making the car door sounds, doing weird stuff from the distance. And then they'll hear like an older one make like a louder noise, and then the other ones will kind of rustle off. Like, it almost kind of seems like there's a little bit of a different dynamic with these things with their youth. And I think their last intention, hopefully, is to actually hurt somebody. Because I know a lot of people are scared to go out there with their kids or go squatching or anything, but I guess it's kind of depends on your opinion. I mean, if you're farther north, you're in like Alaska, for example, there's a lot more aggression with these things. But it seems like when you're in the continental United States, lower United States, a lot of the time they're more curious than anything. And it seems like they don't want to have that face-to-face.
Yeah. I think that the ones that do come around you, like at night, when you're in your tent, or I really believe that they're younger Sasquatches, like teenagers. Because I remember when we were teenagers, we used to, jump out our window and climb down the banner, like down the vines, and
creepy house. You creep as close as you can to check it out. You try to get into the front yard and peek in the window of the creepy old house.
Well, I used to walk around town, and my parents used to say, don't leave your house, don't leave the room, go to sleep. And then when everyone's sleeping, I would sneak out. So I feel like maybe it's the teenagers that are coming around and doing these, throwing the sticks and making the howls. I also think maybe it's an older one that got kicked out of the clan, because lions do that, right? Lions will kick out, some of the older ones, out of their clan. So out of their pride. So maybe Bigfoot does it too. Maybe if they become threatened over another male, once they get to a certain age, or maybe the older one just gets kicked out. And that's the one that's looking in the window.
Those are almost like the scarier ones at that point, because, a lot of people talk about the rogue Sasquatch being like the young one that gets kicked out and he has to kind of go find his own area and his own clan. But the older ones that get kicked out that have nothing to lose at that point, that's almost just as scary as the rogue. And I mean, that would completely make sense with the peeking in the windows, because it seems like the rogue younger Sasquatch is trying to find a new property. Like, they're probably not going to be creeping in on properties, but the older ones that are maybe lost and kind of looking for something else to do or be around, that would completely make sense. And a lot of the time, these window experiences, they kind of relate them to being these older looking faces.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I mean, I did research. There was a lady that had one peek in a window, and we went there, and you could see clearly that something pressed its face up against the window. Now, was it a Bigfoot? I don't know. I mean, she is 7 feet off the ground, like the window was 7 feet. But also there was grizzlies in those forests too. And, grizzlies, they can be curious too. But I don't know. But I did just find a nest, like a giant nest that was 7 feet in diameter.
Was it one of the the grass hut looking nests that you see in the middle of a meadow where it's kind of dug out a little bit so they can kind of stay there during the day?
It literally looked like a bird nest, a giant bird nest. Like, if I took you there, you would think it was a robin's nest, like a giant one, 6.5 to 7 feet in diameter. And it was all made of sticks that were woven in. I was with the lovely Sasquatchers. They were with me when we came across it. I was also with Chad Datema and David Dominique and Sherry Garcia. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. I took lots of pictures. I filmed the whole thing. When a nest is something that you only hear in the wind, right? It's almost, you don't know what to believe. At least I didn't. Like, there's only been a handful of people who have found nests, and you always wonder, well, maybe they built it. Well, I could tell you what we found when I looked closely at it, and I tried to pull I went to pull because it was all woven. And as I was trying to pull out a stick, it took off the bark a little bit. And that's a key word, took off the bark, meaning there was still bark in there. And it was so tightly woven that something would have to pry it open and then push it in without taking the bark off. So that was really fascinating to see.
Just out of curiosity, because I got a few other theories I want to throw at this one. What state was this in, if you don't mind me asking?
It was in Michigan.
Oh, so
it was in northern Michigan.
So this works perfect for what I was going to say then. It seems like a lot of the time when I talk to people with Sasquatch that live in these more mountainous states or ones that have a lot more hills, they talk about how these things stay up in spots where it's almost like they have a vantage point, where they'll have like these scouts that kind of sit around the outside, and there'll be like an inclined spot where, assumably, that's where the tribe or the nest is up on top of there, and then they can kind of get a vantage point and see out from everything. And if they see somebody, they take off down the other side of the hill. But when you're in a place like Michigan where stuff's a lot flatter, I'm assuming you probably found this in the middle of like a meadow or something. So probably a totally different setup where they're trying to get a good vantage point from the ground, right?
Which is quite interesting what you just said, because as we're maybe about 40 feet away from finding it, something, I want to say, yelled at us. And we stopped. We're like, what the hell? And then we saw some eye shine. Then we walked 40 feet, and we found the nest. And then we look, and right beside the nest was this huge drop off, probably about 100 feet, not straight down, but it was quite steep. And it was up high, like it went all the way down to the river. And we looked over there, and we saw something with eye shine, and it was peeking behind a tree, and it ran behind the tree. So Gwendolyn Guthrie and we jumped down there. And by the time we got down there, it wasn't there, but we heard something run off into the forest. So it was very exciting. Very exciting night. And that one is actually, that one's just about, it hasn't launched yet. It's called the Dog Man, and I think it's number 17. Searching for Sasquatch 16. I think it's number 16, and it hasn't launched yet. It's coming out in a couple weeks.
Oh, well, now when that one drops, I'll have to make sure that I add the link into the show description so people can check it out, because when that comes out, it might be about like a week or so before that ends up coming out. So it might end up being perfect timing. Hold that thought. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break. And now back to that deep conversation you crave. And just to throw it in too, this seems like it might be something that kind of might be universal in both means, because you mentioned that there was this nest and there was also the hill. Now, that also being said, a lot of the time when you hear about these nests, you think about things like the Ohio grassman or these larger flat open areas. But is it possible that they're kind of doing both? They take advantage of whatever happens to be in the area. So if they got a good hill they can rest on, of course they're going to do that. And as an addition to that, maybe they make these nests to block wind, depending on, what month it was, maybe to block some snow and things like that.
Yeah.
And I often wonder if a lot of the time they might just take these things apart when they're not in use. Because you mentioned that as you were walking up, that you heard something making noise, like it was irritated that you were in the area.
Yes,
and it seems like these things are intelligent enough that they don't want to leave a trace of themselves. So this is something I often wonder, is if they do use maybe some simple tools, they make things like this, but they're smart enough to know to destroy them when they're not using them so that people don't start looking in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it was we found so many strange tree structures along the way, like bigger ones, not too big that a couple humans couldn't, put them up. Maybe maybe 3 or 4 guys would probably be able to put it up. But yeah, all the tree structures were not too big where a human couldn't have made them.
I mean, if you're in some of these spots, though, that are in the middle of nowhere, I know a lot of people like to say, oh, it was probably teenagers that just made that wood structure. But if you're in a rural area, like what teenagers are going into the middle of a rural area as a group of like 5 in order to just put some sticks up against the tree? Like some of the times that people trying to make a logical interpretation of what it is ends up being more ridiculous than, maybe there's something out here that we don't quite understand that can easily do this stuff.
Yeah, totally. And I think we were on like 50 acres of private land, and then it backed onto the forest. And then we found the nest so we must have hiked about 10 minutes into the national forest, maybe 15 minutes into the national forest after going through his land. And that's where we found it. Wasn't clearly on his land, but it was, we were pretty deep in too. We must have hiked in 2 hours.
So this land that you are on, is it land that's regularly used by chance by the guy who owns it?
Yes. So he used to take his dog for a walk, but after he got something bluff charged him in the forest, like he said that it just came down the mountain. It scared the crap out of his dogs. And he said the ground just shook as it was running. And he thought it was going to come right through. And it stopped just out of sight, just on the other side of the bushes. And after that, he doesn't go too far in. In fact, I think, by the way, the nest wasn't there a week earlier.
See,
it was really new.
See, I feel like they probably set it up with the intention that they were probably going to end up taking it down a couple days after they were done using it. But also to throw it in too, when it comes to like deer, for example, there's these certain areas obviously that you can't hunt. And it seems like deers have gotten intelligent enough to know that if they're being tracked by a hunter, for example, they'll go to these areas because they know they can't be shot at. I'm curious that if Sasquatch, of course, seems to be an intelligence factor to these things. If they know that an area is private property, if they know that the person doesn't typically go on that area of the land very often, or even in that case, I mean, you bluff charge the guy once and he doesn't really come back. I mean, what not a perfect spot to set up where your Sasquatch tribe stays than just like a deer would, knowing an area that people aren't going to shoot or don't really go into.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's that blonde photographer guy. Oh, he's always everywhere.
Caught him off guard. That's exactly what happened with crap, what's his name? With Michael Freeman with the Freeman film back in the day. Because the only reason he was able to catch that footage was because he had to stop and help his daughter, and he ended up coming to that spot later on. Because it seems like a lot of the time these things are on somewhat of a schedule where they have somewhat of a routine. So if you catch them off guard from that routine, that's when people always end up, finding that good footage. Is you can't just go back at the same time every day doing the same thing, because they'll get smart to that type of stuff.
Yeah. I do think that these creatures know where a camera is, or a video camera. I mean, think about it. If they're, hundreds of years old, I mean, humans have been in the forest. I mean, they can't be that stupid. They must know the difference between a gun and a camera.
I mean, even possibly considering that there's something that hasn't lost some of their natural senses because they're not living in a city. I mean, these things could potentially smell the plastic. They could possibly even hear the noises and things that the cameras are making. Or who even knows how what their vision might possibly be like. I mean, there's a lot of different animals that can see in ultraviolet. There's like mantis shrimp that can see colors that we can't even see. So who knows what their light spectrum might even be in the first place. They might even be able to see that straight line coming right out of the camera in the front.
Yeah, exactly. They might see that. I mean, I've smothered myself with mud and dirt to cover my smell, and just rub, just basically just dirty myself up, and just so I can camouflage my smell, and just rub like all this stuff on me, and then after I get my cup of Starbucks, hot chocolate. People are pretty upset that I smell that bad, and then I venture off into the forest.
See, I'm kind of curious if, these things definitely always have that kind of skunky smell, and I know a lot of people like to say that that's some type of pheromone or something else that they put out, but I'm kind of curious if you found a way to add kind of like a skunky, swampy smell to you, if you might possibly be able to cover up the smell, or if on the flip side, it might see that as another male trying to intrude on its property, and then maybe you'll have a whole other set of issues.
Yeah, exactly. It turns out to be a female, Sasquatch, and I'm like, oh crap, not again.
Get a whole other experience out of it.
Exactly. Dang it! This is the third time. Oh.
They always say the DNA is, a female human and a male that's unknown. I mean, in this case, it seems to be flipped.
Yeah, exactly. It's like male and male. I'm like, dang it.
And I know that you were somewhat a little bit pressed on time, so I want to make sure that I don't keep you too long. But I know that you had some new projects that you were working on, so I want to make sure we at least had a few minutes to be able to talk about your new projects and your new adventure that you just went on in Europe recently.
Yeah, so I went to Europe. I was with the Sasquatchers. I met this really cool filmmaker by the name of Ben Kennerly, and we've been working on doing different documentaries on fairies and trolls, leprechauns, unicorns. Sorry, not to laugh at unicorns.
No, the unicorn one's fun, though, because a lot of people think of unicorns as that fluffy little, fairy tale thing. But you look into, like, the unicorn tapestries and everything, and they weren't, these sweet creatures that people have kind of mixed them up with folklore now. They were, they were brutal.
Yeah, the little people. And so we went to England, Ireland, Scotland, Norway, Poland, and then we went to Germany. And what was the other place? I forget the other place. I don't think it's Croatia. It borders Germany. I can't remember at the moment exactly what it was. It was another country. But I really loved exploring the castles. So we did a paranormal. I do paranormal adventures too. Like I have a documentary series called Paranormal Adventures.
Oh, we'll have to do a round 2 at some point where we can get into some paranormal stuff too, because I love to chat about that stuff too.
So I just finished number 4, and now I'm filming. Now I have 5 and 6. 5 is done. I'm doing 6, and it's on the black-eyed children of Scotland.
Oh, that's always fascinating. I mean, I haven't heard too many tales from Scotland, so I mean, if you got a couple, you got to throw them in now that you brought them up.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like we went into the forest, we went into the triangle. It's called there's the Scotland Triangle, or the England Triangle. And we went in there and we were looking for, they have like a Wendigo out there, and they have what they call a gray man, which is almost like their Bigfoot creature, and the black-eyed children. And yeah, there was some crazy stuff that happened. We saw there was eye shine, shadow people. At one point, I came around the corner and it was just in the bushes. It was actually standing at first, and then it kind of went down, and you could see the eye shine, and I'm freaking out. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Let me tell you, it was England has such an old history. We did a lot of rural castles that were abandoned and in ruins. And yeah, some of them were. There was one that we did that was probably half intact. It was still a ruin, but it was pretty amazing. And we went at the best time of year too, because there was nobody there. Like, imagine going to all these places and no one's around.
Especially if you're doing documentaries too. Well, not a perfect opportunity for a shot.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. We did some droning, and we did. Yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, Poland was fun. We went to a few castles in Germany, so that was a blast.
Just out of curiosity, too, since you brought up the black-eyed kids, too, obviously a lot of the stories in the United States are kind of this motif about the black-eyed kids knocking on doors, knocking on car windows, asking to get let in. Does the folklore kind of play the same over there? Because I know a lot of people attach it to some of the vampire stuff. So whatever vampires may be, because I think that idea is kind of mixed up a little bit between a bunch of folklore, it might kind of lay into that idea that maybe these are something that kind of has to do with that same phenomenon.
Yeah, well, we actually heard kids in the forest. Like, we heard what sounded like children talking in the middle of the forest, which was interesting. We saw lights, like orbs, in the forest. We were using a speaker, like we were using something that would bring voices out from the dead, and it would answer what we're saying. And
like an EVP or like a spirit box?
Yeah, it was like a spirit box. And I've never had so many spirits tell me to go off. Go yourself. That's what they would say, right?
That almost makes it a little bit funnier in the context of a lot of people don't take into consideration that ghosts in the area are going to be reminiscent of that area. And I've heard some of these stories of people trying to do some like paranormal investigating in areas where, everybody spoke French or everybody spoke German, and they try to do EVPs and talk and they don't get a response. And then they start talking in the other language, and then these things start responding back. So that's like a perfect example of fitting in with the culture. Like if you're in Europe or you're in where we were for this exact one?
So Scotland.
So that would fit perfectly that's how those people talk,
Yeah, exactly. I did Paranormal Adventures 4 was a haunted house in Kentucky. It was called the Chestnut House. And I caught on camera a door opening on command. Not just once, but 3 times on command. After hitting the door, like slamming the door in there and jiggling it to make sure that it was solid in there, and take a step back and say, okay, you can open the door now. And it opens like 3 times in a row. It's crazy. And checked around to make sure that there was no strings, no nothing. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And I had the cameras rolling on that. So that was exciting.
Inquiries About Reality will return after this quick commercial break. And we are back, so let's hop right in. So we'll definitely have to come back for another round of doing all the paranormal stuff, of course, because the first time you got to dive into Sasquatch with you, but round 2, we definitely got to dive into some of this weird paranormal stuff and some of your European stuff, because you also mentioned that you'd gone looking for Dogman a few times, too, so we'll definitely have to come back around for that, too.
Yeah, that's Dogman is number 17, which is going to launch too in a couple weeks. Like I had 2 of them coming out I have 21. I had 22 Searching for Sasquatch documentaries, and I right now have 4 paranormal adventure documentaries, and you can find them on like 12 different streaming platforms from Tubi. You can find it on Amazon Prime Video. You can find it on Plex. You can find them all on Fossum. Do you know Fossum?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Fossum is like awesome, but it has an F in front of it. I'm pretty sure the F stands for fucking awesome. Right, I think.
Hopefully. I mean,
yeah.
it makes it a cooler name.
Yeah, and it's all free. It doesn't cost you anything to watch my documentaries, and they're fun for the whole family. And you can find my website too. I have a website called searchingforsasquatch.ca. You can find me online too. You can find me on Facebook under Searching for Sasquatch, TikTok under Jason Kenzie. You just Google my name, Jason Kenzie, Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and you'll find like lots of, and if you punch in Jason Kenzie's Animal Adventures, you'll find 400 behind the scenes videos of my animal adventures.
So I'll have to make sure I include all the links to all that stuff down in the show description so everybody can find it quick and easy. And before we get to the words of wisdom, I got to ask, of course, since you're doing some of the Dogman stuff and you come around the Michigan area, do you have any intentions on trying to do a Dogman documentary in the Manistee by chance?
I was just there in the Manistee and doing the Dogman documentary there.
Did you end up having any weird experiences there with that? Because I've had a few people that have come on the show that have said when they've tried to go looking for Dogman in the Manistee, they've had some weird human interaction, like unmarked vehicles and things telling people to leave the area. So I'm always fascinated with people that investigate that area.
usually we get off the trail if we hear motorized vehicles coming or anything. We found lots of weird tree structures. We did hear howls that weren't coyotes. Eye shine. I can't honestly say that they were a Dogman. But I can't say it was Bigfoot either because I didn't see. At one point, Gwendolyn Guthrie and we were in the forest and we were walking. I love going off trail, right? You just put the coordinates into the GPS so you know how to get back and just off the trail, just go in for a couple miles, and we're walking in there, and we could see something looking at us, like it was just there looking at us for like 5 minutes before it kind of ducked down and walked off. And then when we came to the area, it was low to the ground, but when we came to the area, we looked behind it, there was a hill that was like 6 feet behind it. And it was at least 2 feet above the ground when we were looking at it. But yeah, at one point, it felt like something had said to me, leave. Like it just came over me, leave. And I turned to Gwen and said, okay, well, you know what? We should leave.
The Manistee is one of those areas that almost everybody that goes there, whether it's Dogman or something, like there's something weird going on over there. And there seems to be this this big cover up, for lack of better terms. Not like I'm saying some grand government conspiracy, but it seems to be that whoever's operating that forest, they're in on the fact that they know weird things happen. And they tend to try to do their best to cover it up, because there's a lot of the things where like people go missing and they're kind of like, oh, random animal attack. But that seems like a lot of the typical motif when it comes to a lot of these more aggressive Dogman encounters.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting what's out there. I mean, who knows? Maybe I have a comic book called Searching for Sasquatch and the Hidden Treasure of Bigfoot Valley. Maybe I'll do another comic book called Going After Dogman. That would be interesting.
Going After Dogman and the Manistee. If you make that, let me know. I'd love to buy a copy of it.
Yeah. I have this comic book that I made. It was a graphic novel, actually, and it's really well done. People can find that on Amazon. I have 4 children's books too, called Adventures of Little JJ, and 2 of them has to do with Bigfoot. And a ghost and Loch Ness Monster and Dog Man. Well, actually, Dog Boy. But it's about a 6-year-old child that uses his imagination to travel around the world, meeting new animal friends.
Well, that's awesome. I always love it when people take the opportunity to write some of these kids' books that get people into some of these topics because, I mean, you don't really see too many kids' books about Sasquatch or things that kind of lead them into Sasquatch. So it's always a really cool thing when people take the opportunity to do that.
Well, that's the thing. And I was a big comic book guy back when I was a teenager. So when I wrote it, I was thinking not just children, but I was thinking of us, adult children, you know.
Oh, yeah. I'll still read comic books to this day. No problem. Hands down.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I was writing it, I was thinking of older people, too. So it's fun. It isn't just for children, but I made it so nobody dies in it. And they just find treasure. This group of Bigfoot researchers find treasure. They walk through a portal. They go into this new realm, and they find all this treasure. And the Bigfoots are trying to stop them from stealing the treasure. And there's a big twist at the end. And they're having trouble. The researchers are fighting the Sasquatches, and there's a reason why they're able to fight the Sasquatches and not get killed. And yeah, they have to escape with the treasure without being killed.
So I'll definitely have to make sure I include the link to that one, too, down in the show description so everybody can find it. And before we get to the words of wisdom, of course, I know that you have obviously a lot of different work, documentaries and stuff you do. Do you have anything else that you'd like to shout out before we start wrapping up? Upcoming events, upcoming projects, anything else like that?
Let's see. I'm about to go to Texas. While the Sasquatches and we're all traveling around Europe, we jumped on a train, and as we're driving 6 hours on the train, or 6 or 8 hours on a train, we decided to write a song called "Stinky Feet." Right? And so I'm flying to Texas at the end of October to do a documentary on Bigfoot in Sam Houston National Park, and we're going to film the music video and record the full song of Stinky Feet.
Hopefully you got a Sasquatch dance in the background for that one.
Yeah, wouldn't that be good, eh? Hey, sir, can I borrow your foot for a second?
Just dirty Sasquatch feet.
Just dirty Sasquatch feet. Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. We had smelly feet, so it was, you know, and at one point the conductor came on to collect the ticket, and he just opened the door. You just saw the look on his face when he opened the door. I swear, like the fume just hit him. And we all took our shoes off, right? And oh my God, the guy was like, "Okay, tickets. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here." It was funny. It was funny. So yeah. So.
Hold on tight, guys. This is our last break, so stay tuned. And we are back to the show. Let's hop right in. And I guess kind of leaving the listeners with some words of wisdom. If there's any words of wisdom you might want to bestow on the listeners today, what might it be?
You know what? Do not wait for the universe to bring you something that you really want to do with your life. Do it yourself. Get up, get out the door, go and do it. Don't wait for anyone to do it for you. Do it yourself, because nobody is going to come along and help you only when they see you working hard at your passion and your dream.
Ain't that the truth? Those are some good words of wisdom, and I don't think I've had anybody say anything even close to that line, so I'm surprised nobody's hit that one yet, but yes, definitely some good words of wisdom. The only person that's ever going to go out there and do any of the projects you want to do is you yourself, and if you keep putting it on till tomorrow, then it's just going to be another day that you put it off, and you're never going to get around to it, so put your dreams into actions and do the things that you want to do.
Yeah, a dream is only a dream until you make it a reality.
And if you don't make it a reality, then you become part of somebody else's dream.
And do not eat yellow snow.
Yeah, that too. Especially not out on a Squatch hike. Definitely don't eat that yellow snow.
Exactly, right. Like, why is there a yellow river right here? Like, What's going on here?
Just a footprint full of yellow. You're like, must be some Sasquatch foot.
Yeah, you just know that Bigfoot's like, oh, there comes that Jason Kenzie guy. Oh, I'm gonna,
marking their territory, right?
yeah.
I mean, you can only imagine how bad that would smell, considering the pheromone smell that these things get off when you get close to them. I mean, I feel like that's probably some pretty ammonia stagnant pee.
Well, I did interview a guy who at nighttime was trying to go from A to B, walk into the forest, took the wrong track, and ended up going, and all of a sudden he turned around and there was a Bigfoot standing at him, and the Bigfoot peed on him. It walked up to him. He was so scared that he couldn't move. And he turned around to walk away. So he started walking, and the Bigfoot came up behind him and walked with him and actually peed on him as he was walking. And he peed himself too. He pissed himself. He was so freaking scared. He thought he was going to die. And it basically just walked him out of the forest.
That's obviously that's like a dominance thing, but I swear I've heard of that with other animals, that other animals will like pee on other animals for dominance. Is that true?
All the time. Yeah. Like I've been peed on by a wolf. I've been peed on by a fox. A monkey tried to pee on me, but I was too fast. But yeah. And don't even get me started how many times a dog has peed on me. Like, it's almost like I still smell it.
Is that a matter of them trying to put like their scent on you, or is it simply them just trying to do like a dominance thing?
Yeah, pretty much. It's about the same thing. It's basically dominant, right? It's like a cat, right?
So you smell like me, so you're my property, basically?
Yeah, so if anyone out there has a cat that likes to claw at the furniture, what it's trying to do is that the scent glands of a cat is on the bottom of their feet. So they're marking their territory by scratching and leaving their marks. The best way to stop them from doing that is you take your perfume or your cologne and you spray that area where it is marking, where it's scratching. And because you are the boss and the perfume, the perfume is so strong for the cat, they can't stand it. And they'll stop scratching at that spot. Now, you need to take a cat scratching post and put it near the window, because you have to give them an option of where they can go. And then, because, all cats love to sit by the window. And that's how you stop a cat from scratching whatever they're scratching.
Weird side question. Does that also work for a cat that likes to territorial pee? Because totally unrelated to the show itself, but I have one cat that always likes to pee in this one corner, even though she's got a nice litter box and stuff. Would that trick also work for that?
Good question. But why don't you put the box of sand right next to where it's peeing, or right in that spot?
It's in the middle of the hallway. That's the unfortunate part.
Well, then tell everyone, watch where they step.
That's what I usually do. I ended up buying a carpet cleaner, and unfortunately, I got to run that thing every single day. Just my one female cat. She likes to go at the end of the hallway, and I've been trying forever to get her to stop. But yeah, maybe I should try that. Maybe I'll try the cologne, and I'll get back to you and see if that happens to work.
Yeah, it might actually. I mean, what you can do is you do the carpet cleaner, and then just spray the area with your cologne. But then you have to put the box where he pees, like the box of sand or the kitty litter, like off to the side, near where that spot is, because you need to give it a spot for it to go. Because if it isn't going to go there, it needs,
push it somewhere else.
And it's a shame that's in the middle of the floor.
Right? Because I'll be coming down the hallway in the morning, and it's like, oh, there's the wet spot. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you making the time to come on today. We'll definitely have to do a round 2, because we definitely got to get into the paranormal stuff, and I know you got a lot more new projects coming up. So this was definitely a fun first introductory episode, and I'm looking forward to next time.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
If anyone would like to get in touch with me for any reason whatsoever, you guys can do so through email, which is inquiriesofourrealitypodcast@outlook.com, or through social media. Instagram and Facebook are the two that I'm the most active on. Or you guys can also get a hold of me through the submission form, which is up at the top of the link tree. And the last way you guys get a hold of me is through calling or texting the Bizarre Reality Hotline 24/7, and that number is 313-364-1551. And every single thing that I mention is all available in the show description, including that hotline number if you happen to miss it. And with that, hope you enjoyed the conversation. Hope today's show has connected some dots in your own reality, and I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.
Reality isn't what it seems. Abductees taking aboard a craft with a tractor beam. Is life a simulation or an astral dream? Aliens travel through black holes in different galaxies. Life is a bizarre odyssey, with a mic talking about philosophy. Well, Bigfoot is stalking campers as a Wendigo walks through the woods of sharpened antlers, using a Ouija board to talk to the dead like a necromancer. There's so many questions and not enough answers. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities,